So your business, compensationinsider.com, Comp and Ben, rewards.
Yes.
The impact of working from home, working from anywhere on performance management and related Comp and Ben, that's a big topic, right?
It is a big topic. I think it is a big topic which is going to become bigger in 2021 than it was in 2020. I think last year everybody kind of went into panic mode first and then fixed mode very quickly, like fix the short-term issues. And now as we see that even with vaccine, things are not reopening as quick as maybe we were a bit naive to think in the beginning, all of us. So companies will have to rethink about how they evaluate performance to make sure that if they reopen and they have a hybrid workplace where some people are working from home at times and working from the office, or some people are fully remote, that those who are it's not far from the eye. We have a saying in French, I don't know if it exists in English, far from the eyes, far from the heart, which means that if you don't see people, you forget about them. And so you don't want to pass over people because you can't see them as much because they're remote, and especially for promotion and reward, financial rewards. So I think that organizations are going to have to start to think about that. Because if they don't, employees will vote with their feet. We keep seeing survey upon survey saying if employers do not offer flexible, work environments, much more than they were offering before 2020, people will consider looking for another job. There has been for the past 2-3 years, even longer, very small salary movement in the Western world, like 2-3% budgets. So the only way that people could really improve their financial situation if they couldn't get an internal promotion was to change jobs, because that's typically when you get a better offer by a new employer and you have a little bit more bargaining power. And so what we will see is that once people get out of that, oh, I'm frozen by fear state, if they see that their employer is not giving them the flexibility they want and they feel that they're not being rewarded for the effort and that they put to maintain those companies afloat and so on during last year and this year, they will definitely vote with their feet. We will see that.
Well, I've read similar surveys here that later this spring, as companies figure out how to open up or what to do, there's a fear factor that even though people are being vaccinated here in the US anyway, they're afraid.
Yeah.
Is it clean, safe? I mean, how can you trust?
Yes, it's very difficult. I think for companies, they also need to realize that until those who are parenting can fully rely on schools to be 100% open and safe for their children, that people will still have to deal with kids staying at home. And then if the parents have to be back at work, how do they deal with that when there is no nursery, no home services allowed and all this kind of stuff? Plus, for those who don't have kids, they look at the parents who have kids, whose kids are going to school, the kids will not be vaccinated and are currently apparently becoming one of the main vectors of the virus, because they don't have symptoms in many cases, and so you don't know that they have it, and that you can more easily spread it. So there will be a lot of that, and I think that's why organizations need to be open, that even if they don't want people to have really that much flexibility, they will have to continue to offer the flexibility for, in my opinion, at least until the end of 2021. I know that some companies, and especially in the tech, have started to say that people will have to go back to work, but we only hear that. But what we don't hear is which percentage of people it will be. And if it's 10% of your employee population, and if it's done on a volunteering basis, because apparently younger generations, and this I can understand, find it more difficult to be fully remote because they don't get to learn from the environment and so on. So they would maybe tend to be more positive about returning to work. So that if you feel those like have to be back at work like that, that's fine, because it's actually good. Like everybody's happy with that if people can volunteer. If you try to force people, they will come because they have to, but the next day their CV is ready and is going out on the marketplace. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot.
Definitely. Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
The numbers that I've seen from pretty reputable organizations is up to 40% of the workforce is going to be very actively looking for a new job.
Yes. Yes.
Right away.
And I think as well, because maybe some people were lucky not to lose their job and so they didn't complain. But if their employer was a little bit brusque in their way to handle the situation, or reacted in a way which was about cost saving, and the cost saving means let's get rid of people, not let's try to be creative to save costs in other ways, people will remember that. And this kind of a second shock 10 years after the 2008 crisis will finish to shake the basis of trust between the employee and the employers who did not show that they were trying to preserve their employees. And maybe employers didn't have a chance or a choice, but they need to show it to their employees for them to understand that other solutions had been looked at before, saying, let's get rid of 10%, 20%, 30% of the headcount, So, yeah, so we will see that a lot.
So what do you think, in your experience, will unions come back because of that?
That's an interesting one. I do not know, actually. I think the challenge of unions is that they were very well organized for the manufacturing world. And so they need to be able to reinvent themselves to address the needs of more office-based and
tech.
Knowledge, yes, and knowledge workers and so on. So that might be one of the things that's not working so well, where the unions would be very helpful to employees, at least. Maybe the employer doesn't like it, but at least from an employee point of view, tech is going to have a major impact. If you think like truck drivers, waiters, all those kinds of positions that are going to be, as per projections from, World Economic Forum and other, McKinsey and others, massively disrupted, and where the jobs are going to disappear en masse in the coming few years. I'm not sure that trade unions can really do something against the trend of technology. They can defend in a situation which is maybe a little bit more stable, where you're trying to get better benefits, you're trying to get salary and this kind of stuff. But when the jobs are disappearing and there's no financial way to keep all the people, it's much more difficult. I mean, and it's not the fault of anybody, but that's just the reality.
So it's the head of the JP Morgan Chase Bank recently said, for every 100 people, because of work from home, they only need 50 or 60 desks.
Yes.
So that means a major reuse of the real estate.
Yes. Not necessarily less space, because if you put more spaces for collaboration, where people maybe go and interact into one of the things that I think very few companies are really thinking about is the preparing for a truly hybrid workforce, where I was reading like companies like GitHub, for example, that were fully distributed right from the beginning, when you have a meeting and if there are 9 people who are going to physically attend and 1 who's going to be remote, the more advanced companies, they now say, okay, 5 people in the meeting room and the extra 4, even though they might be here, will need to go each on their desk to also be remote so that nobody's like, it's half and half and nobody's like being at a disadvantage and so on. But few companies are really trying to rethink that, are really trying to rethink principles like in Facebook. I was reading once that, I don't know if it was all of Facebook or just like one team, but where they said like on Thursday or whatever day of the week, we will have no meetings so that our engineers can do the famous deep work, you know, and focused work where they're not interrupted and so on. And companies will have to really think about it. But I think it will take time. It will take that kind of backlash for companies to really understand what was not working and that the old way of doing things really cannot come back. Because once what's the image, the thing is out of the box, you know, you cannot put it back.
Right. Sandrine Bardot, thank you for being on Global TV Talk Show again.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
And I want to welcome you to come back, say once a month, and give us an update on these trends that we've been discussing the past half hour.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. And
thank you very much.
So it's compensationinsider.com, right?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, compensationinsider.com. I have the blog. I'm doing the videos. You can find them on YouTube, but they're also on the blog. And I'm hoping that soon I'll be able to also extract the audio and create them in podcast form for those who prefer to listen on the go.
Yeah. Let's talk further about all this. I've got some ideas.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All
Bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Good night now.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.